Brachas daf Chav Zayin Amud Aleph Bruchim Abayim V'lein Elin Nishvus Chaim Kornbluth Feitel. Says the gemorah. We are halfway through the white lies. Tfilas Mincha ad the Erev. There's a machlekes in the Mishnah. Till when can you daven mincha? First shita was till the Erev, meaning you can daven mincha till pitch black, till nightfall. And Rabbi Yehuda said you got till plag mincha, halfway through the afternoon, whatever that means. We saw it's the machlekes. So it says gemorah, Amalei Rav Chisda, Rav Yitzchak. Rav Chisda said Rav Yitzchak, Hasam Amar of Kana lach Rabbi Yehuda. It says over there that the halach is like who? Like Rabbi Yehuda. You could daven mincha till plag. Since it says like Rabbi Yehuda in Meseches Bechayres, in Meseches Nebechir and Meseches Idias, I'm very tired today. Since it says Idias, that the halach is like Rabbi Yehuda, we're passing like that. Hachamai, but here what's it then? Here legabe mincha. Till when can you daven mincha? In other words, the halacha, it said it was like Rabbi Yehuda in Adius, legabe, when can you daven shachris till? There it says you could daven shachris, they brought the korban, shachar, till 4 in the morning, till the 4th hour of the day. And that's what we pass like Rabbi Yehuda as far as till when can you daven shachris. What about mincha? Till when can you daven mincha? Do we also say you can daven mincha till plag? Or can you daven mincha till shkia, till nightfall? So hachamai, hey, legabe mincha, what's it then? So he asked him, Ishtik, he kept quiet, he didn't know. He didn't answer him. Amar of Chisda said, let us do an analysis and let's try and work out what the din is. Let's see. That what? Everyone knows that Rav used to daven the Shabbos tefillah, he davened Kabbalah Shabbos, he went to Shul Friday, way before nightfall. He davened Ma'ariv and it was light outside. But Erev Shabbos, it was still day and he was davened Shabbos. He brought Shabbos in early. It's very common. Shabbos sometimes in some countries comes in 10 at night, whatever it is. You're going to keep your kids up to 11 at night to have your Friday night meal? Too much. You daven early. Shema Menah halacha Rabbi Yehuda. We see from this, the halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda. So you're asking yourself, what's that got to do with when can you daven mincha?
Daven mincha before you can start.
So l'chayre you have to daven mincha before plag, and if Rabbi Yehuda, the implication from this gemorah is that according to Rabbi Yehuda, mincha is still plag, and from plag you could daven ma'ariv, you could be mekabel Shabbos, right? Because according to the Chachamim, you daven mincha till nightfall, and then from nightfall you could daven ma'ariv. But the implication is that you could daven, even though the Mishnah doesn't specifically talk about from when can you daven ma'ariv, it's implicit since you could daven mincha till plag, from plag on you could daven ma'ariv. So if Rav was makabel Shabbos after plag, that means the mincha is till plag. You can't have it both ways. So the Gemara says, Adarabba, you bring a raya from Rav, bring a raya from Rav Huna, the Rabbana, they didn't daven ma'ariv till nightfall. You see from here that the halacha is not like Rabbi Yehuda. Now the Gemara says, since it doesn't say if the halacha is like this one or like that one, the Ovid Kamar Ovid, the Ovid Kamar Ovid. You could do like Rabbi Yehuda, you could do like Rabbanon, you could do Ma'ariv from plag, you could do mincha till plag, or you can go till tzeis, till shkia. You can do whatever you want. So a place can speak about what happens, can you sometimes do like this and sometimes do like that. Some say the implication is that you always have to pick a side, pick a team, and stick to it. Either you're always davening till plag, either plag's nightfall, or tzeis. Some say b'shas adchak, you can sometimes bring in, even if you normally daven mincha, let's say till shkia, like most people, even if you normally do mincha till shkia, if you want to bring Shabbos in early, you can once in a while, as long as it's not the same day, as long as it's not a contradiction in the same day that you're doing both. Because you took two colors, that's like a contradiction. How can you do two colors that say to each other it's a contradiction. The others say that the reason why you can sometimes do like this and sometimes do like that, even though it's a contradiction, is that since the shir, the zman is only the rabbanon, they were monk, but the one guys there's no. If you do two colors, it's a contradiction. You call the rasha. If you do two doraisas, it's a contradiction. You make all in two directions. But here, it's the rabbanon. You're not considered a rasha. There's nothing wrong with it. Sometimes you can bring it in early. Another big kasha they want to bring from here is that from when can you do Tosefes Shabbos? From when can you bring in Shabbos early? Rav brought it in early. It appears from plug, right?
Yeah.
That's the mashmois, and that's the Rishonim say that according to this opinion, you could bring in Shabbos from plug. If you want to be Mako and bring in Shabbos from plug, you can. Rav brought it in l'chayra from plug. Otherwise, what's he being Seimach on, right? You got it from plug. According to Rabbeinu Tam, we saw that according to Rabbeinu Tam, there's two shkiyas. L'chayra holds you can only bring it in from the first shkiya. That's when you can do Tosefes Shabbos. In other words, what's the question? If you brought Shabbos in 3 hours before Shabbos, is that called Shabbos now? Is it also if you do Malacha or not? And the Rishonim say, Yeshita says, before plug, it's nothing. If you daven Mekabel Shabbos 2 in the afternoon on Friday, it's nothing. You could do Malacha afterwards. You wasted your time. You didn't achieve the goal, right? And that's the main kasha over here. What's going to happen if you do it before plug? There's a slew of Rishonim that say that they were made in Europe, where it was very late. Shabbos comes in 10 o'clock at night. There's a Maram and Shumas Hadeshen that they brought Shabbos in hours before nightfall. Hours. They went to shul, they davened, they ate, and then they went after they ate the Friday night meal. They went for walks. It was still light outside. The implication is way before plug. Way before plug. And I think in many countries in Europe, that's what they're knowlege. Remember, we bought Shabbos in 7. I think in London they bring Shabbos in 7.
That must be before plug. Yes, definitely.
It's like it's like 3 hours before nightfall, right? It's not an hour and 15 minutes before nightfall. Definitely, that seems to have been a minhag. Question is going to be, some say if you bring Shabbos in before, let's say before, it's called Tosefes Shabbos. How can you bring Shabbos in early? It's not Shabbos. There's a day for Shabbos. Because there's a mitzvah called Tosefes Shabbos. You have to add on Shabbos. It's machlekes, it's the Raisa D'Rabbanan, Tosefes Shabbos. And l'chayra, you can bring Shabbos in early. Now you added on to Shabbos. Now it's also Shabbos. The question is, from when can you do Tosefes Shabbos? From Tuesday? From Friday? No. From plug, it's already nightfall. It's already the beginning of Shabbos. L'chayra, you can do Tosefes Shabbos. Some want to say that if you start the meal before plug, before nightfall, you should try and eat a kazayas after it's dark already. That for sure wasn't the minhag in Europe, and according to these paiskim, that they finish eating way before. Some Rishonim say you should try and eat a little bit into it. In Israel, if you do from plug, you start your meal like 45 minutes earlier in the summer, right? Or an hour. You're starting an hour earlier, basically. You're not starting 3 hours earlier. So the Aruch HaShulchan says that if you bring Shabbos in early, before plug, b'diavad is Shabbos b'diavad, you're not allowed to do malacha. Comes along the Karanai said, I don't understand what's your raya from Rav. Rav davened, it says. He was matzli Shabbos b'erev Shabbos. Okay, that's got nothing to do with Kabbalah Shabbos, l'chayra. That's got nothing to do with Issa Malacha. You could daven. Rabbi Yehuda is not talking about when is the new day. He doesn't say from plug it's night, right? He's saying, from when can you daven Ma'ariv? There's a question, from when can you daven Ma'ariv? Rav said you could daven Ma'ariv from plug. It doesn't mean that now it's Shabbos. It doesn't mean that now you can be Mekal Shabbos. It's got nothing to do with Shabbos. I mean, that just because he davened early, that Rav's, the whole question according to Rabbi Yehuda is from when can you daven Mincha? So for example, Kriya Shema, do you have to say Kriya Shema again? It's Kriya Shema b'shachua v'kamecha. L'chayra, you can only do Kriya Shema nightfall. So someone will say, it says b'shachua. No one goes to sleep at 4 in the afternoon, right? That's not Zamran Shchiva. So someone will say, no. In other words, how could Rav do this? He's not saying Mimanavshach. If he says Kriya Shema with the brachas, and it's not nightfall, and if he doesn't say Kriya Shema with the brachas, like there's no smichas gulat tefillah, you're supposed to say Kriya Shema with the brachas, Gal Yisrael, Daven Shema Esra. That's the right. So you could either say that You either say that he said Krishma afterwards. He davened Shema Esrei without Birchas Krishma. He said it afterwards. How does that work? Mabaya. He davened afterwards. Since Ma'ariv is Rishus, I say it's more makel. You don't have to be saying Megillah Tefillah in Ma'ariv. Ma'ariv is Rishus. Smichas Gillah Tefillah, but Ma'ariv is not as important as Smichas Gillah Tefillah in Shachris. So for Ma'ariv, he davened Shema Esrei, and afterward, when it was nightfall, he did what's it called? He did the Krishma. Others say, you know what, you're right. Smichas Gillah Tefillah for Ma'ariv is important, even though it's Rishus. But guess what? Tosefes Shabbos is Daraisa. And that's Doicha, the Din Rabbanon of Smichas Gillah Tefillah. That's why he did it. You're right. He wasn't saying Gillah Tefillah. He davened Shemoneh Esrei before. He said Ma'ariv afterwards, Krishma afterwards, and Shabbos is Doicha that. Shabbos is more important than that. Okay. Let's keep going. Says the Gemorah. So Rav, Ikle lebei Geniva. We had this guy before. Geniva is Amar before. Rav went to the house of Geniva. V'tzalish Shabbos, Be'er Shabbos, and he davened like his minig was. He davened early. He did early Shabbos. V'avamatzi Rav Yirmiyah bar Ava la'charei de Rav, and this was in his house. It's important to note this was in Geniva's house, and who was davening behind him? Rav Yirmiyah bar Ava was behind him praying also. La'charei de Rav, behind Rav. The Siyum Rav, and Rav stopped his Shemoneh Esrei. V'loi paskel et slice de Rav Yirmiyah. He didn't walk behind in front of, after you finish Shemoneh Esrei, you have to take 3 steps back. He didn't walk in front of Rav Yirmiyah. Shma men etlas. We see from this story, three dinim. What are the 3 dinim? Mispal Adam Shel Shabbos, Be'er Shabbos. First of all, you can pray, you can do early Shabbos. A Talmud, a student, is allowed to pray behind his Rav. Because Yirmiyah was davening behind Rav. Also, we see from a third din that you're not allowed to walk in front of someone that's davening. So, Rabbi Shimon Levi, this is an assist to Rabbi Shimon Levi, the Omar, Rabbi Shimon Levi, Omar, also lava keneged mispalel. Rabbi Shimon Levi says it's also to walk in front of a mispalel. And Rav didn't walk in front of his mispalel. Rav Yirmiyah was davening behind him. He didn't walk in front of him. Also, so Eini, is this true? V'Amar of Ami, V'Ravasi Chalfi. They used to walk in front of the mispalel. So what is it? Also Muta. The Gemara answers, V'Ami Ravasi Chutz la'arba amas with the Chalfi. They walked in front of someone, but it was Dalad amas in front, not directly in front. So if you review me, how did the Ravim do this? I'm going to come back to this page in a second to see Rashi, but it says, turn the page, you're not allowed to pray, not in front, not behind your Rav, and not next to him. So how did he daven behind? How did Ravim daven behind Rav? I just want to take a look. Interesting Rashi. He didn't walk in front, like Paske. Paske is a lotion like he didn't interrupt him, right? He didn't interject himself. He didn't make a hefsek. What does it mean? Take a look at Rashi. Last line in Rashi. Well, if Pascal it's slice, Kuleimar, meaning like hefsek, he didn't interrupt Ben Yirmiyah la koisel, lavelefonov. He didn't go between him and the wall. Very interesting Rashi. Who brought in the wall over here? I guess Rashi's I'm saying that's the implication of a hefsek. A hefsek between what? Between him and the guy in front of him? Between him and the bed? Rashi's saying, l'chayra, the whole problem with walking in front of a guy, maybe according to Rashi, it's my dig, is you're supposed to daven in front of a wall. Right? And he didn't want to walk between him and the wall. The wall represents things, the wall helps you have kavana. He didn't want, we're going to see why you shouldn't walk in front of someone. Either it's a machlekes because there's a shas shechina there, or it's because of kavana. Difference is going to be if his eyes are closed. If he can't see you, it doesn't bother him. I think nowadays, I heard from a Talmud Chacham, he said, if there wouldn't be halacha that you're not supposed to walk in front of the guy, it wouldn't bother me. But now that it's asa, it's like, you know it's asa. It's like catch-22 situation. What do you do, right? Now that you said it's asa, it becomes more of a problem. So according to Rashi, the problem is to walk in front of the guy between him and the wall. But if there's no wall there, if he's in the shul in the back and there's 50 people in front of him, who said it's also? Maybe, right? I don't think anyone says that halacha l'maisa, but that's the implication in Rashi. Turn the page. Now, what's going on over here? What's this like neged rabbi v'lo chayra? The Bryce says you're not allowed to daven not next to your Rav and not behind your Rav. What about in front of your Rav? Can you daven in front of your Rav? Rebbeinu Yonah says kal v'chaim, and that's also. Let's see. Let's take a look in Rashi. Rashi says like neged rabbi. What does keneged mean? Eitzel, next to him. Why? Umare kilu em shavim. It's gaiva. When you stand next to your Rav and you pray, I'm equal to him. We're the same thing. It's gaiva. So why can't you daven behind him? Nami Yahiru Rashi says, you know why I can't pray behind him? It's also gaiva. Why is the gaiva daven behind your Rav? Maybe it's not gaiva. Rashi says, no, you're close to him. What are you even daven close to him? It's gaiva. You're standing next to him, you're standing behind him, in front of him, it's all also. Get out of that. Right? Don't pray near your Rav. You're not near him, you're not behind him. Even to think you're close to him behind him is also gaiva. You don't even you're not even behind him. There's also gaiva, right? Take a look at Taisus. Taisus doesn't like it. Pirush Rashi b'shum Yehoira, top Taisus. V'yesh mefarish shenirakim shtachav el rabba. You know why you can't pray behind him? Because it looks like you're bound to him. Your Rav's in front of you, and you're bound down from Maidim. Every time you bow, it looks like you're bound to your Rav. It looks bad. It looks bad.
Wouldn't that be the same difficulty to anybody? If I'm behind you, I'm bound.
No one's going to be chayshish. You're bowing down to the shoemaker, right? But your Rav, who you respect, and you know, he's the Rebbe. You're diving behind him. It looks like you're giving him more respect than he deserves. You shouldn't be bowing down to the guy, even if he's your Rav. We're not chayshish just because you bang down behind him. Or it could be we can't be guys. You can't daven behind anyone, so you have to close all the shuls down, right? You got to be behind someone, but behind your Rav, stay away, right? And we're going to see l'chayra. It's only if he's a Rav Muvak, he's someone who taught you all your Torah that you know, like me, right? but stam a guy who you learned some halacha from, it's not necessarily also. There's no tzad. Now there is a bit of a machlekes shreinim here. The Rif says, the Rivon says, no, I can't daven behind your Rav because of kavana. You can't be mechavan. You're busy thinking, you know, the Rav's right there. You can't concentrate. You're supposed to be thinking about Kodesh Baruch Hu, about the master of the world. You're behind your Rav. You should be somewhere else. It's not good. The Rif says, he says lashon like this: "B'makom meir shemayim, we're supposed to have fear of heaven. There should be no fear of Adam. There's no years of Adam, and therefore it's not right. You shouldn't even see your Rav. Now you're in shul. You should only be thinking about Kodesh Baruch Hu, not about any person." The Rebbeinu Yonah has a whole different pshat. He has a whole different mahalach. Says Rebbeinu Yonah, you know why you shouldn't daven behind your Rav? And I'm going to throw my own pshat on top of it. He says, you know why? Because if you finish Shemini Esrei after him, like in the story, he has to wait for you. That's not respectful for your Rav. Now he's got to wait for you. You're standing there, davening Shemini Esrei, and your Rav's standing there looking for you. So according to Rebbeinu Yonah, it turns out that if you're more than Daled Amos away, there's no problem, right? The whole problem is that he can't walk back to you. But if he's not in the Daled Amos, there's no problem. It could be the problem is that why shouldn't you daven behind him? Because you're busy thinking, do I have to finish quickly? Right? I don't want to keep my Rav waiting. So you're going to keep him waiting. And if he doesn't wait, you're rushing, you're busy rushing so that you don't keep him waiting. Either way, it ain't good, right? Says the Beis Yosef, he brings, I can't remember which sheet he brings, he says, this whole story happened in his house, in the house of Geneva, right? But in the shul, there's no problem. It doesn't look like you're banged down to him. It doesn't look like Yehoira. It's a shul. The whole problem is only when in a house. But in the shul, the whole thing doesn't apply. I'm not sure how you're passing the halacha. I think we are marked with it that you shouldn't daven behind a Rav, even in the shul. But according to him, the whole problem is it looks like Yehoira. Sorry, if the whole problem is in shul, the whole thing doesn't apply. The whole Gaiva thing, I don't know, maybe the Gaiva thing does apply in shul. Okay. He says it's only biyachid. Take a look at the gemorah. Tanya Rabbi Elazar. We have a brisa, Rabbi Elazar, hamispala chay rabbi. If you daven behind your Rav, and shalom rabbi, and if you greet him, you say shalom to him. V'amachzeh shalom rabbi, you answer shalom to Rav. V'chalik al yeshiva, so you argue with the yeshiva. Some say that means you opened the new yeshiva. You made a breakaway, like in Ponovich, right? V'aymer davar shlosham pi rabbi. Or you said something like you didn't hear from your Rav. Meaning, some say that means you said something b'shmai, but it really wasn't b'shmai. You made it up, right? Gerim l'shchina sheshtalik misrael. You gerim the shchina to leave Israel. Some say it's because, like, if you treat your Rav with kavod, then you say the Rav b'shem mamrei, you bring the shchina to the world. You maybe gula l'olam, right? So if you do the opposite, it's mistalik the shchina from Yisrael. So how could he stand behind him? That's the question. How could you really daven behind Rav? It's us. It's Gaim shchina shetisalak Yisrael. Shani Rav Yirmiyah Barava is different. Why did Talmud Chava haya? He wasn't a regular Talmud. He was a Talmud Chava. He was a friend and a student. So it's a big machlek is what that means, a friend and a student. Some say it means he didn't learn all his chachma from him. He went to share, he learned from him, but he learned from 10 other people. So you can't daven behind anyone, and if guys learns from everyone in the shul in the neighborhood, you can't pray in the shul. No, it means only if you've got a specific Rav who taught you Rav Torah, say, most of what you know is from him. That's called a Rav you can't daven behind. Others say he was a Talmud, but then he became as big as him. Sometimes you have a Talmud and he outgrows you. You're busy running 4 businesses, but you teach people, and in the meantime they're learning Torah all day and they grow, they become bigger. So that's called the Talmud Chava. Others say that he was on the same level, just you learn a couple of halachas from him. They were the same school, they were the same grade, they were the same level, but just he was a Talmud because, you taught me this, teach me that. It's also called a Talmud, right? Talmud Chava. Why can't you say Shalom? Taisa says, you know why you can't say Shalom? Take a look at second Taisa's. Pirish Kisha b'nei Adam, she'eino ein Shalom alecha Rebbe. Of course you say Shalom to your Rav, but you can't say Shalom, just Shalom, how you doing, hi. You should say Shalom alecha Rebbe. Speak with Meira Shalom Rebbe. Other Rishonim say, no, you shouldn't even say Shalom to your Rebbe. You should have such a cover for him, you just don't go over to him and say Shalom alecha Rebbe. You stand humbly, keep your mouth shut till he opens his mouth. I heard one of the Gedolim once saying, like, people come over to me and they talk to me and tell me their chiddushim. He's like, keep your mouth shut, you might learn something, you know? Interesting. Okay. V'hainu, says the Gemara, V'hainu t'kamor Rav Yirmiyah bar Abba l'Rav. Rav Yirmiyah said, how do I know that he was a Talmud Chava? Because Yirmiyah said to Rav, mi badalta, did you stop doing malacha? You daven mincha, mi badalta? You stopped doing malacha? Amalei ein bedilna. Yeah, I stopped doing malacha. V'loi amar, Rav Yirmiyah didn't say to Rav, mi bodel mar, did the Rav, was he bodel, did he stop doing malacha? So in other words, he didn't speak to him with this level, this covered like a Talmud speaks to a Rav. He didn't say mar. He says, did you, umi bodel? And the question is, did Rav really stop doing malacha? V'amar Rabavin, pamacha dispal Rebbe sheshaz be'erev Shabbos. A nice story here. Rebbe went, he did early Shabbos. Then what did he do? After he davened early Shabbos, he went to the shvitzais, he went to the merchatz, he went to the bathhouse. V'yotza, he left. V'shan l'mpirkin, he taught us some Torah. But it still wasn't dark. He davened, he went to the mikvah, he went to the bathhouse. It still wasn't dark. So you see that he went to the mikvah, he went to the bathhouse after he davened. And it was, and the kasha is, it's asa. They were guys, they used to have these big public bathhouses, were heated with hot, huge thing, they used to heat up. And you were allowed to go to on Shabbos, right? They're going to the mikvah. But they were geyser because they found out that the people were heating up the water on Shabbos to get the customers happy, to keep them happy. They would be Mechal Shabbos. So they said, you're not allowed to go to the bathhouse. And then so they said, you're allowed to go, but only to Schwitz. In other words, there's a big steamy room with tons of hot water. You can't dip in the water, but you're allowed to sit there and enjoy the steam, breathe it in, whatever it is, healthy. They used to go to just to Schwitz, right? And then there were guys on that also. They said, it ain't happening. But they said you can still go to Chamei Tveria, then there goes to Chamei Tveria, and then they move out all the Gezerah on Chamei Tveria, basically, right? But you're not allowed to have a big hot swimming pool. So you see, Rav went in. He went to the Schwitzhais, right? He didn't go to bath. He went into Schwitz. He went to the Schwitz before the Gezerah, and eventually became also to Schwitz, to sweat, to the steam room. But he went in, the story is he went in when it was still only before the Gezerah. Now, just a quick, okay, let's keep listening next time. Aini, is that true? Abaye Sharle Rav Dimi bar Rav Dimi Balivoy Lechavroy Sali. Abaye let this guy, Rav Dimi Balivoy, to Lechavroy Sali means he would smoke some type of sulfur under a bowl of his clothes, under a basket of clothes to whiten it or something like that. He wanted to get like the smoky sulfur smell. I don't know what the point was, but he did this malacha, right? After he was Makabel Shabbos. Haru Tosu, the Gemara says that was tos, meaning he was Makabel Shabbos b'tayos. He thought it was dark, he thought it was ready Shabbos, he was Makabel Shabbos. But if you're not Makabel Shabbos, but if you Makabel on purpose, intentionally, you know it, then you can't do it. So the Gemara asked, Tosu Mihadra, can you take back a tayos? So, one time there was thick clouds. People thought it was dark already. They came into shul and they davened the Ma'ariv of Motzei Shabbos. And then the clouds went away, the sun shines. Rebbe, what should we do? And he said, they've already davened Ma'ariv. So you don't daven again. So the question is, here you see, if it's a mistake, the mistake counts. So shani tzibur lo betchina. The Gemara says no. When it's a tzibur, when it's the whole congregation, we don't want them to have to work too hard and waste tirchid and tzibura. We're not going to make daven again. But an individual who accidentally brought in Shabbos early, he should daven again. The question everyone asks of is, I don't understand. Rav went to the Beis HaMerchatz, right? He goes to his Beis HaMerchatz, and what's the issue over? It's a darabanan l'chayra, right? Is this a darabanan? You want to prove from here the Rav was Makabel Shabbos the Gemara is trying to prove from Rav that since he went to the Merchatz, one second, hold on. So he was Makabel Shabbos. So he went to the Beis HaMerchatz. You see, he went to the Merchatz, so he didn't stop doing malacha, right? That's what Gemara is trying to prove. He went to the Merchatz, you see, he didn't stop doing malacha. So the Rishonim don't understand. It's a malacha d'Rabbanan, and the Gemara says a malacha d'Rabbanan in Bein Shmashos. You could do malacha d'Rabbanan in Bein Shmashos, and b'pashtus it would appear that this is before Bein Shmashos. This is Tosefes Shabbos. What are you trying to prove from here? Of course you can do malacha d'Rabbanan if you Makabel Shabbos early. That's the kasha. So the answer, no, you can't do you can't do malacha even once you Makabel Shabbos, you can't do d'Rabbanan either. When can you do d'Rabbanan on Bein Shmashos? That's b'shas atchak, or you're stuck, or if it's a suffix laila. But here it's not shas atchak. The implication was he did this regularly. He went to the mikvah, he went to the bathhouse after he's Makabel Shabbos. It's not shas atchak. So therefore you can't do malacha d'Rabbanan. Even once you Makabel Shabbos, you can't do even malacha d'Rabbanan. Others want to say the reason why Ben Shmashos you can do malacha, you can do malacha d'Rabbanan is only if it's a suffix. If you're since Ben Shmashos is a suffix, therefore you suffix d'Rabbanan l'kula. But here he was Makabel Shabbos b'vadai, so you can't do malacha. If you muvadei Makabel Shabbos, there's no suffix. You Makabel Shabbos, you can't do malacha. Okay, I think we're going to have to end over here. What's the time? Is that what's right? Am I wrong?
I have 1 to 9.
Okay, we'll end up over here. Have a wonderful day.